All right, guys, moving on. Before I get to the next eBay story, I have a non-eBay, not related to anything, except it's just a little bit of trivia that I found shockingly confusing as to why this is. So let me explain. So the other day, our oldest daughter and her partner were here. Her partner Sam. I showed a little clip of his inventions. I believe it was back in October. He's kind of like an inventor, like with sustainability and using like materials. He made a table. Anyhow, Sam's the kind of guy that if you're in a room of people and we're like just talking about things and somebody kind of like just poses a question, he'll start Googling it and he'll come up, or he already knows the answer. And we were talking about currency. We were talking about Canadian toonies and loonies, which, if you don't know, in Canada they don't have a dollar bill. They have a loonie, which is it's like a coin, so it's $1. And then they have a toonie called, it's $2. And somehow somebody posed a question about how the U.S. government still has pennies. And how, they haven't had pennies in Canada for years. And it just seems completely, in my mind, completely ridiculous to even have pennies anymore. And so Sam went on his phone. And did you guys know that the U.S. Mint produces 30 million pennies a day? Approximately 13 billion pennies each year. I was blown away by that because I'm just like, what a complete waste of resources. If you think about it, just 30 billion pennies a day. Okay. I was blown away by that. I just thought it was a completely useless waste of resources that the government should not even be doing. All right, moving on to the next thing. So back in December, this is another December story, I sold 42 mangas to a guy in one of those, like Guam. It's still in the U.S., but it's not in the U.S. It's like one of those, not subsidiaries, but I want to get you guys the actual name of the area. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeff, and I was looking at my channel today, and I just realized that the last video that I did was my 200th video. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to all of you guys who continue to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. Be interesting to see what this channel looks like after another 200 videos. So tonight, what we're going to do is we are going to look at some, let's see here, what solds. I'm going to save that for later. I'm going to talk to you about a video that I watched. It's a documentary on Amazon. And it is Nash sent it to me, and he also sent me a link to another reseller who recently talked about what I'm going to be talking about tonight. And then I'm going to be giving some more thoughts and my experiences. I used to sell on Amazon back in the mid-2000, like 2016, I think. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, and yeah, so Hustle and Grow is the channel. I'm going to link the video, the video to the 2-hour-long documentary. I highly recommend watching it. It was pretty fascinating, and I would say the biggest takeaway that I got from watching it at the end of it, I was just like, wow. Amazon is too big. It has too much power. It is too big. I don't personally shop on Amazon. it's a personal preference of mine. I do not want to support that monopoly, I guess is the closest thing that you can call it. It's just getting worse and worse and bigger and bigger. And after you watch this documentary, it has its fingers in things that you probably didn't even know. Like, I didn't know Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post. Yeah. So, we're gonna. So I'm gonna link to the Hustle and Grow YouTube reseller channel. I subscribe to him. I only watched that one video of his. I want to go back and kind of watch some more and see what he's all about. But I liked what I saw so far. And then we're going to talk about some, just kind of like what's been going on, some experiences that I've had. We'll start with something that was kind of comical, but also kind of sad when you think about the state of the feedback system inside eBay. So I recently got a neutral feedback, and I'm going to read to you what it says. Jack, I know you're already laughing because I had talked to him about it, and he keeps teasing me about. Okay, so the order in question was they were like one piece is a manga, and they were like these toys. They were in some sort of foreign language. I think they were in Japanese. They were like these small little boxes, and I don't even know what they were, to be honest with you. But the gentleman ordered them. So I'll tell you the feedback. I'm not going to make you wait. 5 words. Seller could be more communicative. That's all he said. Seller could be more communicative. And here's how the sale went. He bought it on December 23rd. I shipped it out on December 24th. Tracking was uploaded. He received it. No complaints about the product, because I'm sure if he had any complaints about the product, he would have added that in the feedback, probably would have given me a negative. But his only complaint is the seller could be more communicative. And I'm certain that I sent him an upsell email. So, I was kind of communicating with him. The only thing I can think of is he wants a best friend, right? Like, he's lonely and he's, maybe using eBay as a way to meet people. So, I read this out. I read this to Jack, and we were having a good laugh over it. And it is funny. It is funny and ridiculous that eBay allows this kind of feedback, because it has nothing to do with me as a seller. It has nothing to do with the role in the transaction that I've fulfilled. I've done everything so I filled out the online form to have the feedback removed, stating that, what did I say? I actually, Nash, I used the way you phrased it in the last email that you had sent me. Let me see here. Where is it? I kind of explained what happened, and then I said that the unfair feedback that didn't explain anything. I like that. I used that because it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't, in fact, it's defamation is what it is. It's implying that I'm not communicating when in fact that is not true. I don't know how more I could have communicated. Should I have checked in with them and asked him how his day is going? I even said, so I submitted the request, and yes, I'm being sarcastic here, because why not, right? Like, he's done something to me, and I take it a little personal, and I think we as resellers, we take things like this very personal. But so I submitted the thing, I explained, I haven't heard anything back. It's probably been like 7 hours. I haven't heard a decline. I haven't heard, it's still there as far as I know. Yeah. So then I called into eBay because I wanted to call and talk about something else, and I'll talk about that in a minute, because there's a good story there as well. Positive story. So I said to them, should I like send them a message every day and say hi? You know, they've expressed an interest. They want me to be more communicative. I'm like, can I get in trouble if I send them a message every day and just say, hey, how's it going? Right? You know, try to strike up a friendship. And eBay does the obligatory, well, you know, I can submit a appeal, but we recommend that you reach out to the seller or the buyer and ask them to revise their feedback. You know, and I even said to them, I'm like, why would you even suggest that? I go, I've already mentioned to you that I've contacted the seller. As soon as I got the feedback, I sent him a message and I'm like, I don't really understand. Could you maybe clarify what you mean by you wanting me to be more communicative? I don't really know what more you want me to do. So I reached out to them because I really wanted to hear what they had to say. So, you know, I sent them an email. I'm being communicative. And they haven't responded. So I said to the eBay rep, I'm like, I've already reached out. I've already contacted them. And, you know, I haven't heard back from them. And now your suggestion to me is to send them a feedback revision, which they could possibly, if you don't already know this, they can actually revise it down. What I didn't know that for the longest time. I actually think that that's completely ridiculous that they can actually take it down. They could actually give you a negative. I'm like, why? The guy's clearly lacking friends and a social life, that if he wants me to be communicative, if he wants to strike up a friendship with me, I would not risk getting a negative over this. I go, I'm not going to do that. So, you know, they submitted it, appealed it, whatever. You know, it's almost laughable. Okay, here, let's do this. Because I'm going to respond to it, but I don't want to respond to it in a sarcastic way. I actually do want to respond to it in a sarcastic way, if I'm being completely honest. But I don't want to do it in a way that like a buyer down the road could see it and use that as an opportunity to maybe give me a negative feedback, you know, for whatever reason. You know, maybe a buyer is on the edge of, you know, neutral and negative, and then he goes and looks at my feedback and, you know, maybe, yeah, whatever. So how would you guys respond to this? You know, and I know that you're just taking my word on how my side went, but this is what I shipped it out within a day. He got it, was happy with it, and then you get that feedback. Seller could be more communicative. Packaged it well. You accepted an offer. And so what would you guys say, or would you not say anything? I will take into account everything that people suggest on that. And I may end up using some of that when I ultimately, if it's not removed, which I've only ever had 2 neutral feedbacks in my life. The first one was just a period. It's just a dot. And eBay wouldn't remove it. So I don't have any confidence that eBay is going to remove this. So I'm trying to think of what would be like a funny, non-threatening, ironic comment to leave. Not comment, but response to that feedback. All right, I had to pause the video. So it's literally right above Guam, Northern Mariana Islands. Now, first off, I had messed up the shipping and handling on this order. I had it set at $5.97, which is not what it costs to ship 42 manga media mail. So I had to eat that. So sent it, mailed it, and the guy contacted me in a appropriate amount of time, saying, you know, he opened a case saying he never received the items. I looked at the tracking, and it was stalled. It hadn't moved for like 3 weeks. So I refunded him on Thursday. And then, and you know, this is the way it goes, right? On Friday, he got it. And I would have never checked. I refunded him because there's really not much you can do. And I included a note, and I'm like, hey, you know, if you do get these and you feel so inclined to return the money back to me, that would be amazing, because times are tough and this would be a big loss. And he did that. And I thought that was amazing. And so he messages me yesterday. He's like, hey, I got them. How can I get this money back to you? So I message him. I create a new listing. And then I send him that listing. And I'm like, you just have to buy it. And initially he wanted to send me money via PayPal. And I said, well, let's go this way, you know, because I'm trying to do everything above board. You know, I don't want to send him my information. I don't want eBay to think I'm doing anything I'm not supposed to be doing. So I create a listing, send him the listing, and then he messages me back to that. He's like, and I don't really understand this message, but he was like, hey, let's just do it PayPal. He's like, he literally says, if I buy that, then you'll have to send me something, which is not actually true, because I even say in the listing, no item is for sale here. I created the listing, I entitled it Special Lot for, and then I put his username in. So like no one's going to search, because they were Dragon Ball in a foreign language, like in an Asian language, I want to say Chinese or maybe Japanese. And it was kind of a disastrous purchase. I think I paid $30 for all 42. I thought I would get more out of them. They ended up selling for $75, but then I ate some on the shipping and handling, so I ended up not even making that much money. It was a bad deal all around. So he sends me this message, you know, let's just do it on PayPal, blah blah blah. So I'm like, so I went into the order number. I did locate his phone number. I sent him a text. I don't know if it went through, and I sent him my PayPal information, but I never got a response from him. So at this point, what would you guys do if you're in this situation? So here's what I did. I called eBay. I explained to them, because I needed to contact them anyhow about the feedback. So I'm like, okay, let me just knock out 2 things. So I explained to them everything. I go, basically what I'm doing, why I'm calling is I'm asking for your permission to send him my PayPal information. And I explained, I try to do everything above board, but the buyer is saying this, and I don't want to lose this opportunity to get my money back. And, you know, and they understood. And I got a reference number. I'm like, so you're telling me this is okay for me to send my PayPal information to them? And they were like, yes. They're like, the buyer's already received the item. You followed all the appropriate procedures. And I thought that was reasonable of them. And I even included the reference number to the phone call inside the email that I sent to the guy. I'm like, eBay has given me permission. They can refer to that. So that's how I handled it. Let me know how you guys would have handled it. Would you have done anything different? Would you have just sent him your PayPal information? Now, he hasn't actually sent the money yet. I just did it like a couple hours ago. It's a Saturday night. The only people looking at their eBay accounts on a Saturday night are resellers, right? Am I right? Yeah. All right, the other day I sold a Minnie Mouse tote bag. Clear plastic tote. 3 days go by. The guy doesn't pay. I message him. He sends me back a message and he goes, I need more pictures. It literally had front, back, side, and bottom. I was like, in my mind, I'm just like, this guy's going to be a problem. And I didn't respond until the next day because I knew we were coming up on the 4th day. Canceled the order and blocked the guy. I don't want to deal. Like, if the guy's asking for more pictures when it has pictures from every angle, no thank you. Not interested. I don't want to sell to you. I am fiercely, I take the complete opposite approach to my stock that eBay does to the buyers. I do not want to bend over backwards to my buyers. I want to make my inventory exclusive. I mean, within reason, right? I don't need, it was a $10 sale. I don't need to make a $10 sale to somebody who is there's red flags going off when you're asking for more pictures when there's really not any more pictures I could possibly give. So yeah. Now, another thing that happened to me, and this was good because a guy bought a $140 order of comics, Walking Dead comics. And then I was able to upsell him on another, like almost like another $140 worth of stuff. And basically the point of this story is I am finding the system that eBay has been rolling out with a buyer buying something, but then it's still being live for someone else to buy. I hate this thing, and here's why. And it kind of almost cost me, well, maybe not cost me a sale, but it made for some uncomfortable back and forth. So the guy was like he bought the first lot, and he was going out, and he was like shopping, and he bought like four more lots on my store, and then another item on Maria's store. But for some reason, one of those items wasn't showing up. So he bought them, or he made offers I accepted, and 3 out of the 4 listings were showing in my unsold. So I was able to send an invoice. But one of those items was nowhere to be found. I accepted it. I sent an invoice, but it wasn't in the solds awaiting payment. It wasn't in the solds awaiting shipment. It was nowhere to be found. And so when it came time to pay, I had sent him the invoice that I had sent him had 3 of the items, and I didn't realize there were 4. And so I'm like, hey, you've got the invoice, just go ahead and pay. And he was like, I think you're missing, what was it? It was a Punisher lot of comics. And then I look and I'm like, you're right. I'm like, it's not there. And I'm like, this is going to sound weird, but I don't see it anywhere in my back office to actually send you an invoice. I'm like, I thought I sent you an invoice and I thought I zeroed out shipping, but I can't, like, if you know anything about buyers, they want everything on one invoice, which I understand. And so I had to go through this scenario and I had to explain to him, and it kind of makes me look bad. And I have had buyers that are so distrusting of sellers that if what you're telling, so I have sent invoices zeroed out shipping, but on their end, they still see the shipping. Even though I've zeroed it out on my end, they think I'm trying to pull one over on them. And I get that. Maybe they've had some bad experiences. From my perspective, I'm never going to try to pull one over on one of my customers because they're just going to leave negative feedback. To me, it's a no-brainer. To them, maybe they've dealt with some bad people. So I literally had to say to this guy, I'm like, okay, I know eBay is doing some updates and they're changing things. I'm like, just pay for it. If it charges you, I'll refund you. But again, some buyers are very distrusting of sellers. So I don't like the fact that I can't see it. And there have been, like, so this happened just the other day. I was looking at my daily totals, and I'm like, I know I sold this Amazing Spider-Man book, but I didn't see it anywhere in my awaiting payments. If they're gonna do that, they need to add another column to where you can kind of at least see it. I don't personally, I think they're trying to get too cute. I understand the sentiment. I absolutely don't like the fact that we can't see these things when somebody buys it and it's still live. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on this whole new thing? Do you like it? do you not like it, and reasons why you do or why you don't. All right, I want to get into that Amazon video because it has direct correlation, I believe, to what we're seeing, the tactics that eBay are pulling with promoted listings. And I'm going to tie it in to a question. That's the other thing. We're going to do a couple questions. I'm going to tie it into a question, and there was a little bit of back and forth by a couple viewers. So I'm basically going to use the information in this video to answer one of the kind of questions, and yeah, it'll all make sense. Trust me. Come along for this ride. So in 2021, on Frontline, there was a documentary called Amazon Empire, The Rise and Reign of Jeff Bezos. Now, I've got notes. And a lot of this is covered in the Hustle and Grow, I think it was Hustle and Grow, YouTube channel. Yes, Hustle and Grow. I want to give credit where credit is due, and it was definitely due there. So if you only want to watch the parts that are pertaining to this within that video, and again, I'll link it. It's like around minute 20, 21, and goes to like minute 25 or 26. So it's like, but the whole documentary is fascinating and scary when you think about how Amazon has integrated themselves into the very fabric of society. It is very George Orwellian, and not in a good way. Not that anything from 1984 was good, but so basically within Amazon, and there's really no, it's not a fact, but it's widely regarded that there was this thing called the Gazelle Project that Bezos had implemented. And essentially it's where you pursue, as a cheetah, you pursue a sickly gazelle. They go after the weakest of their prey. They don't go after the strongest. And so at that time, in the documentary, it was going back to, I don't know what that time frame would have been when Amazon was implementing these tactics. Maybe sometime in the early 2005, 2010. I don't know. I don't know that. But there was a time where Amazon would, and some of this information is coming from a guy named Randy Miller, who was head of the European book department. And he was saying, you don't go after the number one publisher. This was back when Amazon was big into books. I mean, they're still big into books, but that's what they started out at. You go after the 7th or the 8th largest, and then by the time you get to the 1, there's been enough chatter in the community that they know what's coming, and so they put up less of a fight, if any fight at all. And in this documentary, they talk about this publishing company called Melville House, who was a small mom and pop shop owned by a guy named Dennis Johnson. And they did it was a small publisher. And one day he got a call from his distributor, and they wanted to talk about their Amazon contract. And the publisher basically said to Dennis that we went to dinner last night with Amazon, and what did I say here? They basically said that it was like going to the dinner with the Godfather. And they said that they want a kickback. Amazon wants a kickback. They want 4% more of their sales at the time. And the Frontline interviewer asked Dennis at the time, is that something that was normal. And he said it was unprecedented. And so a few quotes from Randy Miller, then it went back to Randy Miller and they were talking to him. And he was basically justifying these ruthless tactics and acting like it's no big deal. And he says, and I quote, "In order to bring them into line," them being the publishers, "they would do some of the following things. Take out of automated merchanting. They would take prices up to the list price, and they would also put reference on their product page directing them to cheaper listings from their competitors." Does that sound familiar? And they said this is how they forced their vendors to comply to give them the extra money that they were demanding. And in their mind, they were demanding it because they felt that they had the distribution channel that, what's the word I'm looking for? That justified asking for that extra money. And then Randy says something which is fascinating. He says, "We didn't come up with this on our own." Quote, "That's an old Walmart trick." What would Walmart have to do with eBay, Mr. President? Now, when Dennis refused to give in initially, he said the buy button disappeared from his listings. So they couldn't physically sell anymore. So eventually they had to pay the bribe. And Amazon responded to this account by this guy named Dennis. And they said they disagreed, but they didn't do any interviews. They disagreed by responding by letter. And Randy Miller, the guy that was head of that European book department, says that he said something interesting that kind of stuck with me. He was like, there's basically finite margins, and somebody's got to pay. It's not going to be Amazon. And I thought about that, and I thought, that sounds like the whole it's eBay's sandbox. And, if you don't like it, play in somebody else's sandbox. Now, I used to sell on Amazon back in 2015, 2015, 2016. And I let my Amazon account just kind of dwindle away. And it was one of the, I kind of regret doing it, but also it is what it is. And at the time, eBay took about 12% in final value fees, and Amazon took about 30% at that time. I don't know what they take now. And I would only list certain comics on there that would get a premium, like a massive premium that justified paying that extra money. And I remember certain books that sold, and I don't even know why I even listed some of these books on there. And I was losing money, and I'm just you know what? I'm not even going to fill these orders. I like I said, I just kind of let my Amazon account go. It was one of those things where I wasn't aggressively listing on it. There were things about it I hated the 30% commissions. I hated the structuring of the shipping and handling at the time. You couldn't determine your own shipping and handling. They determined it for you. I didn't have massively good sales on it, but I also never really put a lot of time in it. It was just one of those things where every once in a while when a book got hot, for example, I remember when Prince passed away, I had this Batgirl cover that had a Prince homage on it on his bike. And I remember that day, I think I sold like 6 or 7 of those books on eBay, and I just kept raising the price as they sold. And I sold a couple of them on Amazon, and I just remember getting like a premium. Now, some of these tactics about like, you know, putting your competitors' listings on your listings, and you know, wanting 4% more. I mean, 4% sounds like nothing. I would gladly pay another 4% in addition to the final value fees if there were no such thing as promoted listings and things were back to the way they were pre-April. 4% is nothing. It's the games. So promoted listings is essentially the idea to it's the paying, like it was so fitting when he goes, when they said it was like going to having dinner with the Godfather. I joke about the promoted listings being Mafia-esque. And essentially, the promoted listings is that additional tax, and it's the games. It's the games with the promoted listings. It's I there's some good comments on the last video about the suggested daily ad rate that I'll be sharing as well. So let me find that comment that I want to talk about and tie that into this. All right. So Mike Milo says, here we go with the doom and gloom again. Seen it before. Things are slow to compare. Let's say you drive by a car dealership, Kia, Toyota, Chevrolet. The lot is full of cars. You go in and say you want to buy a car, and they say, no, we are not selling anything today. Really? That is exactly what everyone is saying. How do you think eBay makes money? They don't make money by hiding your items. They have to sell your items to make money, not run a site just to post your photos of items. The market fluctuates. I've heard this argument before, and there have been times where I think to myself, what is eBay doing? Like, why would they be hiding your items? Amazon, in a documentary, it is documented that that was a strategy that they would do. Removing the buy button is exactly the equivalent of hiding your listing. Why would you do that? To bring sellers in line, to quote the Amazon head of the European book division. Why would they hide your listings? Why would they redirect people away from your listings? They're doing it because it serves them in some capacity. Either they're diverting a customer to another listing because that person is promoting higher, or the algorithm has noticed that you've recently downgraded your promoted listings, and they know that if you as a seller see slower sales, you're more inclined to up your promoted listings back up to be brought in line. Gangline Legacy says, with all due respect, you have no idea what you're talking about. Go review the last 9 quarterly statements. The money they make off of sales has actually been declining for years, and now the majority of their income is coming from promoted. It's not that the majority of their revenue is coming from promoted listings, but promoted listings is their biggest percentage increase. They have realized they will make more money off the backs of sellers as opposed to acquiring more customers, in which they are bleeding out by the millions every month. And then it just goes back and forth between these two. Give the guy who made the initial comment credit. He did share his store. I haven't checked it out. But it's not I don't look at what I do as doom and gloom. I'm just reporting what I'm observing. If you don't agree with it, and that's fine. But I've been selling since 2011, full-time since 2015, 14 or 15, I don't even remember, 2014, full-time. And, I know my numbers, and I know what a normal week, a normal month is, and nothing has been normal since April. At the same time, search has been screwed up. It changed, and promoted listings have been stressed. It's like I remain convinced that once eBay went from 1 to 2% mandatory, not mandatory, but the lowest you can do, that at that point in time, and that might have even been before April 1st. I don't know when that date was, but I contend that at that point in time, that was when eBay has made a concentrated push to bring sellers in line, to get them to promote, get them to continue to raise their promoted listings, create this internal competition, this facade of internal competition between sellers. Because we all know if everybody promotes at 20%, you're not getting a higher placement. You're like, in fact, if everybody promoted at 20%, like if every single seller promoted at 20%, I don't even know. I feel like that would break the machine, to be honest with you. It would be curious to see how that would happen, what would happen. Only eBay would be making the money, and you would have no competitive advantage. Staying on this topic of promoted listings, this is a good thread here. I don't know, SB in the Co says, I looked into suggested ad rates a bit more, and I am blown away. My suggested ad rates are not being computed by each individual item, but rather by the category it's in. So for all of my women's tops, no matter what the brand, size, style is, each and every one of them is showing a suggested ad rate of 12.2%. For all my women's sweaters, no matter the brand, item, size, style, each and every sweater is showing a suggested ad rate of 11.9%. All of my jeans, 12.1%, etc. Is everyone else's suggested ad rates showing as the same for an item depending on what category it is in? eBay can't answer my question about this. Wondering if it's just my account or if this is just for other sellers. Sellers, viewers, here's your chance to answer a very legitimate question. I tend to agree with this. Like, I've never looked into it, but I have to I believe it's always been like that. I don't believe, and especially in like collectibles, if you want to take this even further, you could have a comic book that is a near mint plus, near mint, VF, fine. I'm sure but all of those are very different prices. The condition is everything with collectibles. And then you're telling me that the suggested ad rate is the same for each one of those? That shouldn't be the case. So Benny says, so the suggested ad rate is just at a suggestion by eBay. It's eBay trying to trick the seller into thinking that is what others are promoting at. It's all BS just for eBay to squeeze a few extra percentage points out of the sellers. Hey, if you can get an extra few million percentage points from sellers, anyhow, so they just go back and forth, and it just, this particular viewer was just stressing the fact that the suggested ad rate is that 12.2%, no matter what brand, size, competition, and condition. Condition is very important. So I thought that was a great thread that they were talking about, and it's the suggested ad rates. Nobody should be promoting a dynamic, in my opinion. One other comment that I thought was good by Pick Like a Pro. He says they're trying to perfect spreading out sales between as many sellers as possible to keep them on the site while making promoted look worth it, and it's just not possible. So many people believe that there is some sort of democratic capitalism that eBay kind of tries to spread around the wealth. It's just not possible positive. If you have the time and the inventory to list 10 to 50 plus a day, you can promote at 2.5% like I do and get decent sales. Negative, even if you promote higher than your competition, you have sold way more than your competition. The site is so broken that someone charging more than you will get way more sales if you don't list consistently. It is a headache to figure out the new eBay. Promoted started the glitches because it's a system that has never worked. It's just a way to control their income, but they have to try to make it seem worth it, and no one can program that confusion. That is a good comment. I continue to believe that promoted is the biggest problem. I believe promoted listings are the biggest problem, and that is screwing up search, which is the second biggest problem. And until they figure those two out, I don't think the website's going to be, I don't think it's going to be fixed. You know, I know something is supposed to happen in March, and I was told even maybe at the end of this month, the website could be running a little bit more better. but yeah, you know, I will say this. I will say that the last couple days on eBay has felt a little more normal. Normal with sales, normal with views, normal with you know, offers to watch. It's felt a little bit more normal. Like I've been pretty busy. I have changed up a little bit of the way that I do the reset. I'm just going to share it with you guys, and you guys can experiment with it. I've not been doing full resets, and so what I've been doing is I've been monitoring my traffic, and whenever, like, if I log in and I view the traffic at, say, like 2 or 3 p.m. and I notice it being down, I'll do a couple rounds of resets, like a couple round being 200 at a time. And then that seems to like wake up the store. And then maybe even sometimes I'll do like a couple rounds at the end of the day or right as I'm getting ready to go to bed. So, you know, maybe and I do this on both of my stores, and it seems to be doing something. You know, I've been getting sales, good sales, things, like I said, things starting to feel a little normal. So I sent out a community post. I don't know if it was Thursday, but I was getting some glitches, and a lot of you guys were getting it too I would try to delete 200 or end 200, and it wouldn't let me. And I would try it again, and it wouldn't let me. And I thought to myself, oh, here we go. This is eBay putting the kibosh on end and now similar. And I kind of stopped that day because I'm just like, okay, if you know, if they're doing something behind the scenes, I don't really want to risk, you know, messing up and maybe losing some listings. I also thought at the time, because I would try it, and then if I tried to, and if it worked, it was able to end 200, and then I was able to relist them. And if I tried it again, I would get another glitch. But if I waited maybe 5-10 minutes and then tried it, it seemed to work. So I thought, well, maybe they're doing something in the code to where you can't end 200, relist them, and then do it again right away. Maybe they were trying to make you wait. And maybe all of this is just innocent. Maybe they were doing something, importing stuff from server. Maybe they were just doing something behind the scenes that they didn't necessarily need. They didn't want people ending listings because it was screwing something up. I mean, that's always a possibility. I'm not always, oh, eBay's doing this for nefarious reasons. But again, you know, when they don't tell us anything and we're just left to our mind wanderings, that's how conspiracy theories are born. All right, guys, I know I said I was going to do some what solds. I had them filmed and I was having problems uploading them, so I'll do that for another video. I'm going to cut this short now so I can hopefully get this video uploaded. Thanks for watching. Feed that YouTube algorithm. Peace and blessings, everybody, and we will talk to you soon.